Comfort women were women and girls forced into sexual slavery by the Imperial Japanese Armed Forces in occupied countries and territories before and during World War II. The term comfort women is a translation of the Japanese, which literally means comforting, counseling women. During World War II, Japanese troops forced hundreds of thousands of women from Australia, Burma, China, the Netherlands, the Philippines, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, East Timor, New Guinea, and other countries into sexual enslavement for Japanese troops. However, the majority of the women were from Korea. Many women died or died by suicide due to brutal mistreatment and sustained physical and emotional distress. After the war, Japan's acknowledgement of the comfort women's plight was minimal, lacking a full apology and appropriate restitution, which damaged Japan's reputation in Asia for decades. Only in the 1990s did the Japanese government begin to officially apologize and offer compensation. However, apologies from Japanese officials have been criticized as insincere. Estimates vary as to how many women were involved, with most historians settling somewhere in the range of 50,000 to 200,000. The exact numbers are still being researched and debated. Originally, the brothels were established to provide soldiers with a sexual outlet to reduce wartime rape and the spread of venereal diseases. The comfort stations, however, had the reverse effect of what was intended. It increased the amount of rapes and increased the spread of venereal diseases. The first victims were Japanese women, some who were recruited by conventional means, and some who were recruited through deception or kidnapping. The military later turned to women in Japanese colonies due to lack of Japan volunteers and the need to protect Japan's image. In many cases, women were lured by false job openings for nurses and factory workers. Others were also lured by the promises of equity and sponsorship for higher education. A significant percentage of comfort women were minors. In 1944, Allied forces captured 20 Korean comfort women and 2 Japanese comfort station owners. In Burma, they issued a record, Japanese Prisoner of War Interrogation Report 49. According to the report, Korean women were deceived into being used as comfort women by the Japanese. In 1942, there were about 800 women trafficked from Korea to Burma for this purpose, under the pretense of being recruited for work, such as visiting the wounded in hospitals or rolling bandages. In Confucian cultures, such as those of China and Korea, where premarital sex is considered shameful, the subject of the comfort women was ignored for decades after 1945, as the victims were considered pariahs. In Confucian cultures, traditionally an unmarried woman must value her chastity above her own life, and any woman who loses her virginity before marriage for whatever reason is expected to commit suicide. By choosing to live, the survivors made themselves into outcasts. Moreover, documents such as the 1952 Treaty of San Francisco as well as the 1965 treaty, which normalized relations between Japan and South Korea, had been interpreted by the Japanese government as having settled issues related to war crimes, despite the fact that none of them specifically mentioned the comfort women system. The issue has been discussed in Korean newspapers since the war's end, with a number of articles jumping in the 1960s when negotiations towards the normalization of Japan-Korea relations were underway and further spiking in the 1980s after the discovery of living former comfort women. An early figure in comfort women research was the writer Kakusenda, who first encountered photographs of comfort women in 1962, but was unable to find adequate information explaining who the women in the photographs were. Senda, through a long process of investigation, published the first book on the subject, entitled Military Comfort Women in 1973. Nonetheless, the book did not garner widespread publicity, and his book has been widely criticized as distorting the facts by both Japanese and South Korean historians. In any event, this book did not become an important source for 1990s activism on the issue. The first book written by a Korean on the subject of comfort women appeared in 1981. However, it was a plagiarism of a 1976 Japanese book by the Zainichi author Kim Il-mayon. The existence of comfort women in South Korea and activism in their favor began to build momentum following democratization in 1987. But no former comfort women had yet come forward publicly. After the Japanese government denied that the state was involved and rejected calls for apologies and compensation in June 1991, the dietitian Kim Hak-sun came forward in August 1991 as the first to tell her story. She followed by others in several different countries demanding an apology from the Japanese government through filing a lawsuit. The Japanese government initially denied any responsibility, but in January 1992, historian Yoshiaki Yoshimi discovered official documents from the archives of the Defense Agency's National Institute of Defense Studies, which indicates Japanese military involvement in establishing and running comfort stations. Following this, Prime Minister Kichi Miyazawa became the first Japanese leader to issue a statement specifically apologizing for the comfort women issue. This led to an intense increase of public interest in the topic as well. In 1993, following multiple testaments, the Kono statement was issued by Japanese government confirming that coercion was involved in seizing the comfort women. All of this has since triggered a counteraction from Japanese right-wing forces since the mid-1990s, with disputes over history textbooks being a common example. In 1999, the Japanese historians Kazuko Watanabe complained about the lack of sisterhood among Japanese women, citing a survey showing 50% of Japanese women did not believe in the stories of the comfort women, charging that many Japanese simply regard other Asians as others, whose feeling did not count. In 2004, Minister of Education Nariaki Nakayama made known his desire to remove references to comfort women from history textbooks, and textbooks approved in 2005 contained no mentions of comfort women at all. In 2007, the Japanese government issued a response to questions which had been posed to Prime Minister Abe about his position on the issue, concluding that no evidence was found that the Japanese army or the military officials seized the women by force. In 2014, Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga formed a team to re-examine the background of the report. The review brought to light coordination between Japan and South Korea in the process of composing the Kono statement and concluded that, at the request of Seoul, Tokyo stipulated coercion was involved in recruiting the women. After the review, Suga and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe stated that Japan continues to uphold the Kono statement.